Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. The Israelites have been scattered across the four corners of the earth, as prophesied in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. Here at Israel United in Christ, we need your help to recover the remnant of our people, teach them the gospel. Please help us, support us, and join or donate to the Booster Club today. Shalom.
Hey, Shalom, Most High in Christ bless. This is Captain Ezra.
Officer Aaron.
And we are continuing with the series, The Genius of Israel. And right now I'm going to go to something else. I want to go to another part. This is part 8 to this series. But I want to touch on something. Let me get that in Baruch 3:36.
Baruch chapter 3, verse 36. He hath found out all the way of knowledge, and hath given it unto Jacob his servant, and to Israel his beloved.
He gave all. When he says all, he means that all the ways of knowledge, all of them. So let's explore a different one. But first, let me get that in Genesis 25:21. Real quick.
Genesis chapter 25, verse 21. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren. And the Lord was entreated of him. And Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger.
One of those people going to be stronger than the other. One of them. And I'm telling you right now, Israel was the stronger one. But am I just saying that? No, we got evidence to back this up. We can go to history and we can see that Israel is the stronger. Watch this. Let's go to, I got a file in there that says Nazi Olympics. Let's see this. Nazi Olympics. Because we've been dealing with inventions, we dealt with education. Hold on, wait. We dealt with different ways that we are a great people and our mark is being made on the world. But now we're going to go to another thing. We're going to go to some athletic stuff, and let's see how we doing that.
In the 800-meter event, Uncle Sam's hope is John Woodruff, overtaking Phil Edwards of Canada, who's running his heart out, trying to match the withering pace of the husky Negro heavyweight who is running him into the ground.
There was very definitely a spatial feeling in winning the gold medal and being a black man. Here I was doing something, and particularly this particular event had not been won by an American in 24 years. So I was very happy for myself as an individual, for my race, and for my country.
To the latter stages of the 19th century, there were a large number of African-American athletes who established not just a national reputation, but an international reputation for their athletic performances. Athletes such as Marshall Major Taylor, one of the great bicyclists in American history, Isaac Murphy, the first jockey ever to win 3 Kentucky Derbies, Moses Fleetwood Walker, who was the first African-American ever to play Major League Baseball when he signed with the Toledo Mud Hens in the mid-1880s. And what happens around the turn of the century, particularly by the last decade, of the 19th century because of a variety of different factors, including the Jim Crow laws and the black codes, the most famous being the Plessy versus Ferguson decision in 1896. You begin to have segregation. You saw African American athletes being eliminated from predominantly white organized sport around the turn of the century.
So, yeah, and we understand historically that when they had the segregation in some of these sports, you know, part of it was just they didn't want to be around us. They didn't know that we was going to dominate them. And then they let us in. Why did they mess up and do that? They said, no, we'll let y'all do it with us. Oh, shoot. He outran me by 2 miles. He way up there. But once they opened that floodgate, what happened? Israel came in and dominated. Now, I want you to go to, I got something in there called Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens. Let's see that.
Scheidungsläufe. Amerikas schnellster Läufer, Jesse Owens, ist am Start.
Auf die Plätze. Fertig.
Owens siegt in der Zeit von 10,4 Sekunden. In der weiteren Ausscheidung sind die stärksten Läufer Borchmeier, Deutschland, McPhee, Kanada, Berger, Holland und Sweeney, England.
Fertig. Auf die Plätze. Fertig.
Borchmeier siegt in 10,5. Weltrekord! Wegen Rückenwind nicht anerkannt. Die Entscheidung im 100-Meter-Lauf. Die 6 schnellsten Läufer der Welt sind angetreten. Borchmeier, Wyckoff, Owens, Strandberg, Osendarp und Metcalf.
You gotta understand, this is why they like, we can't let them do nothing because they already knew what's gonna happen. You can't even be in this, you out of the shot. If they just cut that right there, you don't even know he's running against somebody. You think he's out running by himself. Oh, brother, just running. I don't know, what am I watching? Oh, it was a race. Oh, it was the people in it. Oh, shoot. Like, give me the story of 200 meters. Right there. Yeah, let me get that. Just watch this. So let's see how this thing has escalated over the years.
The 200 meters has been present on the Olympic athletics program since the year 1900. While the Olympic races measured 200 meters, some other meets ran 220-yard races. Nevertheless, 220-yard times were also eligible for 200-meter record consideration until the mid-1960s. The first official world record for the 200-meter on a curved track was ratified only in 1951 due to the inconsistencies in how the race had been run. The first man to earn the title World's Fastest Human was American Bernard Weffers, who held unofficial but generally accepted world record of 21.2 for 220 yards set in 1896. In 1923, Charlie Paddock, another American, ran 21 flat. He represented his country at 3 Olympic Games, winning 100-meter gold and 2 silvers for the 200 meters. Paddock became famous for his unusual finishing style, leaping towards the finish line at the end of the race. By 1932, both Ronald Locke of the US and Australia's James Carlton had run the 200 in 20.6. Those times weren't beaten until 1960, although the performances are not considered the official IAAF records today. The first 200-meter world record officially recognized by the IAAF belongs to the American Andy Stanfield, who ran a 220-yard race in 20.6 in 1951. Stanfield matched that time in a 200-meter event the following year. 4 other runners equaled Stanfield's time over the next 8 years, and then Peter Radford of Great Britain finished in 20.5 seconds in a 220-yard race in 1960. 3 more runners matched Radford later that year in 200-meter events, with Italy's Livio Berruti turning the trick twice, and then American Paul Drayton, who joined the crowd in 1962. Henry Carr of the US then lowered the 200-meter standard, reaching 20.2 for 220 yards in 1964. It was turning to an all-American affair in 1966 when 21-year-old Tommy Smith hit the 20-second flat mark at the 220-yard to set the last 220-yard world record ratified by the IAAF. That year, Smith also broke the world record for the 200 over the straight when he covered the distance in 19.5. This was the first sub-20 seconds 200 meters, straight or turn, with a legal wind. Smith clocked 9.3 in the second 100 of the race. Only 44 years later, Tyson Gay of the USA managed to run faster. On the specially constructed track at the Great City Games in Manchester, Gay sprinted all out for a phenomenal 9.88 in the opening 100 meters and, despite tiring legs, finished up with the second 100 meters in 9.53. At the US Olympic trials in 1968, John Carlos beat Smith and his world record, running in 19.92. Carlos's record was disallowed because of the brush spike shoes he was wearing. The IAAF banned the brush spikes before the Summer Olympics 1968 with the excuse that the spikes would damage the tracks. At the 1968 Summer Olympics in Mexico, Smith nursed an injured hamstring into the 200-meter final. In the race, teammate John Carlos powered out to the lead, covering the first 100-meter in 10.3, while Smith got a slow start and was a meter behind with 10.4. Coming off the turn, Smith charged past Carlos and sped to victory. Knowing he had passed his training partner and closest foe, his victory was so clear he raised his arms to celebrate 10 meters before the finish line. Still, he improved upon his own world record, running the second 100 in an astonishing 9.4. Smith's time of 19.83 was the fastest recorded fully electronic 200-meter sprint up to that time. 11 years later, on the same track, Pietro Manea of Italy was absolutely confident that he could break the world record. He claimed that he was the best 200-meter sprinter in the world. In the 200-meter final of the World University Games, he proved that. Manea won in a time of 19.72, running the second 100-meter in just 9.38. The validity of this mark drew criticism over the years due to the fact that it had been recorded at high altitude, but it just emphasized that he was indeed the fastest man in the world over 200 meter. Menea clocked a time of 19.96 at his hometown of Barletta in 1980, which was the fastest time ever recorded at low altitude. Menea's mark stood for 17 years, making it the longest surviving 200 meter world record. The time still stands as the European record. In 1983 at the National Championships, Carl Lewis might easily have broken it. He won the title in 19.75 with the splits very similar to that of Menea, 10.35 and 9.40, but he eased up 15 meters from the tape with an easy victory. If he had run hard through the tape, his time might have been close to 19.65. At the Olympic Games in Barcelona, Mike Marsh ran 19.73 in the semi-finals with such ease that he led up 10 meters before the finish. No doubt, if he continued all the way, he would have broken the record. Marsh tried too hard in the finals and ran 20.01. He won a gold medal and looked disappointed. Menea's reign ended in 1996 when American Michael Johnson shattered the mark at the US Olympic Trials, where he finished in 19.66 seconds with 10.25 for the first 100 meter and 9.39 for the home stretch. With that performance, he qualified to run at the 1996 Summer Olympics in Atlanta, where he planned to complete an unprecedented 200-400 double. The 400 was a formality. He had coasted through 3 rounds before racing to an Olympic record of 43.49 to win the final by 9/10 of a second. He had his first gold, but the 200-meter final was the race he'd been gunning for all along. When the gun went off, Johnson stumbled out of the blocks a bit but quickly recovered and ran the curve brilliantly, coming through the first 100 in 10.12. He ran the straightaway in 9.2, finishing the race in a world record time of 19.32. Breaking by more than 0.3 of a second the previous record he had set in the US Olympic trials, the largest improvement ever on a 200-meter world record. With that achievement, Johnson went into uncharted territory, and experts thought his record would stand forever. It was the absolute best result in all of athletics, worth 1,329 points according to the IAAF scoring tables. For example, the 100-meter equivalent of that is 9.65, and in 1996, the 100-meter world record stood at 9.84. But even the greatest records are meant to be broken, and Johnson's record fell 12 years later at the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. Usain Bolt sprinted hard all the way, even dipping his chest to the finishing line. He became the first sprinter to run sub-10 seconds for the first 100 in a 200-meter race. With the split times of 9.98 and 9.32, he improved Johnson's record by 0.02 of a second. The following year, Bolt once again produced world record-breaking time in the 200-meter final at the World Championships in Berlin. He ran the first 100 meters in 9.92, the second in 9.27, and broke his own record by 0.11 of a second, finishing with a time of 19.19. He won the race by the largest margin in the World Championships history, even though the race had 3 other athletes running under 19.90, the greatest number ever in the event.
So as you see, I mean, it's just obvious that you let Israel in, Israel will take over some stuff. Why? Because one people is stronger than the other. One people is stronger than the other, and that's historical as well. Let's go back to the scriptures. Let's get 2 Samuel chapter 2, and I want verse 17 and 18.
2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 17. And there was a very sore battle that day, and Abner was beaten, and the men of Israel before the servants of David. And there were 3 sons of Zeruiah there, Joab, Abishai, and Asahel. And Asahel was as light on foot as a wild roe.
He was as light of foot as a wild roe. A roe is a deer. Anybody ever seen a deer running? No. He's fast like that. Like, he gone. You ever seen that deer and you hear the lion coming and they take off, or a gazelle? That's what they're saying. They're saying he fast like that. And we always been a fast people. That's why you can produce a Usain Bolt, a Michael Johnson, all the different brothers. It's more brothers that's fast, but these are just the top people that you know about right now. So let's go to 2 Samuel. Stay in 2 Samuel. We're going to go to chapter 18, and we're going to read verse 19.
2 Samuel chapter 18, verse 19. Then said Ahisamaz, the son of Zadok, let me now run and bear the king's tidings, how that the Lord hath avenged him of his enemies. And Joab said unto him, thou shalt not bear tidings this day, but thou shalt bear tidings another day. For this day thou shalt bear no tidings, because the king's son is dead.
So, if everybody's not familiar, this is after Absalom had taken over the kingdom. David fled because he feared for his life. And through all of this strife that was going on, Absalom coming out to try to find and kill David, he ends up running into a tree, or his horse ran into a tree, through a tree, and he ended up getting hung because he got caught in the branches. And then Joab came and finished him off. But so now they like, well, look, we need to go tell David. So this is why they talking about running. They want to go let him know what's going on. Go ahead, read on.
Verse 21. Then said Joab to Cushai, go tell the king what thou hast seen. And Cushai bowed himself unto Joab and ran. Then said Ahimaaz, the son of Zadok, yet again to Joab, but howsoever let me, I pray thee, also run after Cushai. And Joab said, wherefore wilt thou run, my son, seeing that thou hast no tidings ready? But howsoever, said he, let me run. And he said unto him, run. Then Ahimaaz ran by the way of the plain, and overran Cushai.
So meaning he left out after him. Had whole conversations back and forth and all that other stuff. He's like, look, let me go. And he not only ran there, he beat the dude that left first. So he was coming out like Usain Bolt. Like, yeah, y'all already out there. Yeah, I got it. Let me get over there. I get to it. But this is some of the greatness that you see in our people, even in athletics. That our people always rise to the top in everything. And we're going to continue to examine this stuff. But we're going to leave it there for this one and say shalom.
Shalom.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.